Ignoring questions. President Trump is facing blistering criticism here at home and around the world for vulgar comments he reportedly made during an immigration meeting. That meeting happening in the Oval Office of the White House.
Now new at 5:30, President Trump is issuing a denial and giving his side of the story. Those at yesterday's meeting said the president complained about the U.S. taking immigrants from Haiti, African countries, and El Salvador, saying, quote, "Why are we having all these people from blank countries come here? We should bring in more people from places like Norway." Illinois Senator Dick Durbin was the only Democrat in the room.
That's when he used these vile and vulgar comments, the exact word used by the president, not just once, but repeatedly.
I read those comments later last night. So first thing that came to my mind was very unfortunate, unhelpful.
Neither President Trump nor the White House has disputed the comments that suggest he prefers immigrants from certain countries over others. Joining us now is the anchor of Face the Nation and co-host of CBS This Morning, John Dickerson. John, first, a giant congratulations from all of us here at CBS 3. We're thrilled for you, and we love watching you in the morning.
Thank you very much. I'm enjoying it, and I really appreciate it.
It's fantastic. All right, so in the last week, we've moved from questions of the president's mental fitness to do this job to now, did he say these comments, and are these comments racist, and is the president racist? Right. What is Washington's take on all of this on this Friday afternoon? This moves so quickly.
Right. There are a couple of strands here. One is this is another messy explosion from the president, and we're used to that. They go all the way back to during the campaign. But is this just a shiny object, or is there something larger at stake here? This is about more than just using vulgar language in the Oval Office. Although it used to be a part of American politics that a certain sense of decorum in the Oval Office was something that people wanted to see from their presidents, and they punished those who didn't live up to those standards. But what this is about is whether the president classifies groups of people based on the color of their skin or where they come from. Now, this isn't just a one-off event. It happens in a context. The president has been accused of doing this on numerous occasions, including going all the way back to the announcement of his presidential campaign when he referred to Mexican immigrants as rapists and murderers. And so in a country that prides itself on a plurality of people from different places and from being the great melting pot of the country, of the world, is this what Americans want to see in their president? And what that comes down to basically is a political fear among Republicans that if they are associated with the president who people judge negatively for the way he behaves on this specific question raised by this language, will that hurt them politically in the 2018 election coming up in November?
And you're going to have Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton on with you this weekend. He was in that meeting. He now says he doesn't recall what exactly was said, what the terminology was. I'm guessing you guys will be talking about that. What else can we expect this weekend?
Well, that's right. We want to talk to him about that and the underlying thing they were talking about, which is how to treat the children of undocumented immigrants who were brought to the country through not their own power, how to treat them. How does America treat people in this situation? And Democrats and Republicans are trying to figure that out, people of goodwill on both sides. And now this vulgar notion is thrown into it, and so I want to talk about all that with him, but also North Korea, what's going to happen also, in Congress this year. We'll also talk to Cory Gardner, Republican from Colorado. He is in charge of getting Republicans elected this year, so we want to get his take. Joe Manchin, the Democrat from West Virginia, he's up for re-election in 2018 in a state that Donald Trump won handily, so we want to talk to him about what the other side of the aisle thinks.
All right, John, so we'll see you Sunday, and then we'll see you again on Monday.
That's right. No rest.
No
Thanks,
rest
Jessica.
for you. All right. Thanks so much. You can catch Face the Nation Sunday morning at 10:30 right here on CBS 3.